Toby is neuter, and we have been, I have been, excuse my ignorance, trying to understand.
Okay, so in all seriousness, anytime these type of clips pop up on my timeline, I'm always like, I get hooked. I get hooked because I think about then and I think about today, and I think about where it seems like we're going as people, right? Right now, it seems like we're definitely on the path of anti-intellectualism because this is almost a 40-year-old conversation. When we try to have these conversations today, they are faced with so much adversity. Like, people are so angry and so quick to violence just about somebody else's identity. It's wild. Not to say that that wasn't something they experienced back then, because obviously, but I mean, we can't even have the conversations. And it seemed like back then they were able to approach these conversations with a little bit more grace and curiosity rather than just trying to shut somebody's whole identity out. Today, there's so many bad faith conversations. Like, people will act like they really want you to educate them, only to just show up with any of their bigoted ideologies to just argue. There's no more seeking to understand, it seems. I can only imagine how mentally and emotionally taxing this might have been for Toby at the time, because again, this is in 1988. Even the term they're using the term neutered, and all of us that are my age or in my age group should know what neutered means now. Like, neutered we use in reference to domesticated pets. The correct term for a person would be intersex. And now, if I'm not mistaken, the first time I ever heard of that term, I was still in high school. The show Awkward or Faking It was on MTV. I forget which one specifically highlighted an intersex character, but it was one of those two. Of course, only speaking for myself, it was not a difficult thing to understand. Like, I acknowledge as a human being, I do not control nature. I exist within it. I know the secret of humanity is if a certain amount of people believe something to be true, then that dictates the truth for humans. If we all decided today that, like, money does not matter anymore, that is now the new truth for humanity, right? I don't want to throw nobody too far off, but that's just how it is. If the collective of humanity decided this is acceptable and this is not acceptable, whatever it is, then we effectively change that reality. However, nature itself, we don't get to dictate. Like, we can't do anything about that. We can only do that with social constructs. So when there are men who are born with ovaries, that's nature. When there are women who are born with testicles, that is nature. When there are men or women born with more or less estrogen or testosterone than the other, that's just nature. Even when we are able to develop things like hormone blockers or additive hormones for either person, because when women go through menopause, they can get hormones. When men reach a certain age, they can also get hormones. Even in that clip, she stated that at the time they were able to do reconstructive surgeries. And when you speak to trans people, of course, they will respond very similarly to Toby. If they want to do that surgery, they would want to do it. But not every trans person, intersex person, non-binary person wants to be the opposite gender or have the appendage that the opposite gender has, or whatever the case may be. And also, trans, non-binary fam, feel free to check me if necessary. But I just can't help but notice where we are today. We really are, like, at a time where mention intersex and people will be like, no, you just made that up, that's not real. Whole time it's the realest thing ever, because they are born into the world like we all are. They are walking, they're breathing, they have blood in them, like and just like trans people, intersex people are a very small population of the planet. So I really just be stuck at, like, damn, how long does it really take humans to progress? Because 40 years and it seems like the conversations have just gotten dumber when it comes to gender and sexuality, when we have increased our capability for knowledge and processing that knowledge and our accessibility to that knowledge as well. I'm gonna probably look more into Toby particularly throughout the rest of the day, because I've seen some other things about Toby being an activist for autism also. There's another thing people are talking about today, and, like, none of them are doctors or scientists. They're just people with opinions. Even right now, like, don't confuse some of the things that I said with opinions. Some of these things are just scientific facts. Some of these things are just things about nature that we just don't get to change.